Introduction to providers in NestJS. Introduction. Welcome to today's lecture on providers in NestJS. So providers are a fundamental concept in the NestJS framework that enable dependency injection. And so it facilitates modular and maintainable code. What are providers? Providers are classes that can be injected as dependencies into other classes. They include services, repositories, factories, helpers, and more. So the main idea behind providers is to manage the relationships between objects, allowing the NestJS runtime system to handle the wiring of these objects. And this helps create a clean modular structure in your application. Creating a provider. So let's look at creating a simple provider. We'll use a service as an example, specifically a CATS service. You can also find this example from the website. So CATS service will manage data storage and retrieval for a CATS feature in our application. So here is the code for the CATS service. We have this class has CATS array and two methods called create and find all. And we have injectable decorator, which marks this class as a provider that can be managed by the NestJS inversion of control container. And you can create this service using the CLI command nestg service cats. Using a provider in a controller. So you can use the CATS service within a controller. So this is the CATS controller class, where we can see that CATS service is imported from cats.service and injected via the constructor. We have this constructor that is passing CATS service, and this method of injecting dependencies through the constructor is known as constructor-based injection. For those of you who are not familiar with this, make sure to refer to dependency injection lecture. So this is the recommended approach because this makes the required dependencies explicit, and we can, by injecting this, we can see that create can call create method from CATS service, and find all can call find all from CATS service. Dependency injection. So NestJS is built around the dependency injection design pattern. So in NestJS, dependencies are resolved by the type, and thanks to TypeScript's capabilities, when a dependency like CATS service is required, NestJS will create and return an instance of the service. So if the instance has already been created, it will return the existing instance. So this is how dependencies are injected into the cat's controller through its constructor. Provider scopes. So providers in NestJS have a life cycle that is synchronized with the application life cycle. So as a default, providers are singletons. What does it mean that providers are singletons? It means that they are instantiated once and reused throughout the application. However, there are ways to define providers with different lifetimes, such as request scoped providers, where a new instance is created for each request. And this flexibility allows you to manage provider life cycles according to your application's need. Custom providers. So NestJS supports the creation of custom providers. These can be defined using values, classes, and factories. It can be both synchronous and asynchronous. So we have an example of a custom provider using a factory. So in this example, the HTTP options token is used to inject a configuration object, and the optional decorator indicates that this dependency is optional. So if the dependency is not provided, it will not cause an error. Property-based injection. So we looked at constructor-based injection. While constructor-based injection is preferred, there are cases where property-based injection can be useful. So for example, say your top level class depends on multiple providers, and then passing them all through the constructor can be tedious. In such cases like that, you can use property-based injection with the inject decorator. So this is an example of property-based injection. But if your class does not extend another class, it is always good to prefer constructor-based injection for better visibility and explicitness. Registering providers. In order to use a provider, you need to register it in a module. Here is how you would register the cat service that you looked at in a module. So this is the app module class where you add the cat service to the providers array of the module decorator. By doing this, NestJS can resolve the dependencies of the cat's controller class. And this step is really important for enabling dependency injection in your application. Directory structure. So this is an example directory structure. So your project for cats should look like this. So there is a source directory, which contains cats directory with DTO interfaces, cats controller, and cat service. And the root directory includes app.module.ts and main.ts. And This structure helps in organizing your application into manageable components. Conclusion. So in conclusion, we looked at the basics of providers in NestJS. We looked at how to create a service as a provider and inject into a controller and understand the dependency injection mechanism and register providers within a module. So providers are a powerful feature in NestJS that enable modular and maintainable application design. Thank you everyone for listening.